24th, 2023. I'll call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Ingert.
Present.
Councilmember Forster absent. Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. All present and accounted for, with the exception of one approved absence. Would you all please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations and awards this evening or personal appearances, so we'll move on to the staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Looking at the long-range forecast, it seems safe to mention snow tonight. My night shift snow boss, Mike Donahoe, and day shift snow boss, Justin Paith, had an opportunity to attend the American Public Works Association Snow Conference in Omaha. So it was a great opportunity for them to meet with some of their peers, share war stories, learn some different techniques. Also got to tour the Omaha facility, and they also took some leadership classes. So well spent 4 or 5 days for them. So that concludes my staff report.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Krass? Hearing none. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council, I have a couple of items in addition to my written report. First, I want to congratulate park worker Jeff Smill. He's our crew leader, 25 years of service to the city, so that's always worth mentioning. He's invaluable to my team, and we really appreciate him. He is a big part of my next announcement, which is our ribbon cutting of the Hawks Nest Playground. So super excited to bring that to you all tonight. It's been a long time, and we are ready to open that. So mark your calendars for next Monday night. This Monday was the day that we could guarantee that all the little things are taken care of, and we're 100% ready. You guys have a light work session agenda that night, so we felt like it was a natural flow. While we had you dressed up and ready, we'd just take you from here to there, cut that ribbon, and get that thing open for our community. So really excited about that project. And then finally, our Touch a Truck event is May 6th at 9 a.m. at Recreation Park. All our information is on our website for that as well. And that is my staff report.
Thank you, Nate. Any questions, Mr. Mustine? Mr. Holman.
Mr. Mustine, great report, great news. When does the farmers market open? I can't remember if it's next month or June.
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 First Tuesday of June.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Mustine. Normally, I would be calling on Ms. Harmer right now. As you all may be aware, House Bill 909 is becoming more and more imminent on the calendar. They may be adjourning, they may not. Governor has barbecue tonight. But I have her in back monitoring that for us in case it comes up, so she can let us know. Very good news. It appears it's being accelerated on the calendar. Stay tuned. My report for you all this evening, next Monday, May 1st, Mr. Mustine has already given it away. Apparently we have a light work session in his opinion. So we will have 2 items on. I'm going to be bringing you some budget amendments with staff recommendation on a couple of different items, primarily focused on the firing range, however, and then need to talk to you all about a proposal from Google to extend our fiber contract and the payments that they make to the city according to that contract. That concludes staff reports this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Yes, Mr.
Thank you,
Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, with the NFL draft, I know we had support from our police department for the parade. Do we have any involvement, or is that exclusively, Kansas City area?
Go ahead.
No, they've asked outside the metro agencies to participate as well. We will be sending at least 1 or 2 up as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else, Mr. Fearborn? Okay. We have no committee reports tonight. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items under our consent agenda tonight. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, City Council regular meeting minutes for April the 10th, 2023. Item B, City Council special meeting minutes for April 10th, 2023. And item C, Resolution 23-18, acceptance of public improvements for the Eastbrook 3rd, Edgewater 8th, and 9th.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. We have nothing under old business this evening, so we'll move on to new business. The first item of business is a selection of the Mayor Pro Tem. As you know, under our charter chapter, or section 3.4 of the city charter, the Mayor Pro Tem provision is for the council to elect annually from among its members a Mayor Pro Tem. And we're at that point on our agenda. I would open the floor for discussion or any nominations.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
it is with my pleasure that I nominate Councilwoman Abdelgawad to the position of Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other nominations? Mr. Holman.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's imperative during this unprecedented time in our history and the looming threat of that god-awful landfill to the north. I think it's imperative that our next Mayor Pro Tem has the ability and the flexibility in their schedule to be able to attend the required meetings in Jefferson City and elsewhere, especially in your absence, sir. I know that Councilmember Barber owns his own business and has such flexibility. At this time, I nominate him for Mayor Pro Tem as well.
Thank you, sir. Any other nominations? Mr. Barber.
Do I have to accept the nomination?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can certainly talk to it if you like, sir.
Okay, well, so if you're nominated, you can't not be nominated then, is that correct?
Well, I mean, you can say I graciously accept the nomination, or Mr. Zur, what's your position on that?
Absolutely, anyone who is nominated can decline that nomination.
Can decline it? Okay.
I choose to do so then.
All right, sir. So he has declined the nomination for Mayor Pro Tem. We have one existing nomination out there. Are there any others? If there are no other nominations, I would entertain a motion to accept by acclamation.
Oh, so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept Sonia Abdelgawad as the Mayor Pro Tem by acclamation. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 6 yes, 1 no. Congratulations, Sonia. Yeah. And another item is the governing body members on Planning and Zoning Commission. As has been the history for the last 7 years since I've been mayor, is to be that member appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm willing to do that again for the coming year, and but if it certainly allows for a council member that can also be designated to be a member to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. But I'd entertain any other suggestions or open it up for discussion. If you're all willing for me to remain in that position, unless someone's opposed to that. Yes, Mr. Holman.
I've said before, sir, I think that's been a very good situation for us, having you and you alone on that board and being able to report back to us and kind of help guide that body as to the interaction between us and them. I think that's
Thank you, sir.
I think that status quo has worked out very well for us.
Okay, then I shall remain in that position. Next item on our agenda is the Timber Trails Mixed Use PUD rezoning and preliminary plan, and I will turn that over to Ms. Hill for its first reading, Bill number 3802.
The first reading of Bill 3802 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the zoning map from R3AP, Multiple Family Residential Plan District, to PUD, Planned Unit Development District, and approving the preliminary development plan for the Timber Trails Mixed-Use Development, a 22.31-acre tract of land located north of Johnston Drive and west of Dean Avenue in Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report on this item.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and council, the request before you all this evening is...
Sorry, David. Let me open the public hearing and ask for a staff report, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Proceed, please.
The request before you all this evening is a rezoning request to a planned unit development, as Ms. Hill indicated, for 22.31 acres of land located north of Johnson Drive and east of Dean Avenue. The applicant this evening is Griffin Riley Property Group, who is here this evening for any questions. Included within your packet is a number of site photographs of the site in its current undeveloped form. Because this item does require a public hearing, it was advertised in the March 22nd edition of the North Cass Herald. Items of record include the mailed notices to property owners, the notice of publication in the Herald, the Unified Development Code, the application, growth management plan, the staff report, the preliminary development plan, and the memorandum of understanding, all of which were included in your packet. I wanted to touch on just briefly the history of the property and then go through some of the minor details about the request. The property is currently zoned R3P, which is Multiple Family Residential Plan District. It was established in February of 2004, which included the approval of 336 townhomes on this property. To date, 68 of those townhomes have been built, which leaves 268 townhomes approved but unbuilt for this property, which is the current approved plan for the site. The original final plat for the first phase of development was filed in February of 2005 and included the 17 buildings that are built today, which include the 68 townhome units. As I mentioned, that plan was originally approved in 2004 as part of the overall Timber Trails subdivision, which included the single-family areas as well. Over the last several years, between 2007 and most recently in 2020, the council has granted extensions to Hummond West as part of the preliminary plat to keep that plan valid. Most recently, the Timber Trails third plat was the most recent project that was accepted and approved by the city. It's a 38-lot single-family development on the east side of Dean Avenue across from this development. This project did require a good neighbor meeting. Staff held that good neighbor meeting here in the council chambers on March 8th. 0 residents attended that meeting. It was simply city staff and the applicant. Going through some of the request here, included in your packet is the zoning table for the request. As the council may know, the PUD allows for the applicant to define the standards in which they would like to follow for the property, and staff then reviews those. So included in your packet is that table for the development standards for each of the lots. I wanted to highlight the 4 deviations that were requested as part of the PUD. The first one is a decrease in the minimum lot area per each dwelling unit from 2,000 square feet to 1,000 square feet. There's a requested increase in the maximum building height for Lot 2 from 50 feet to 70 feet to accommodate a residential building, in addition to an increase in the maximum building height for Lots 3 and 5 from 50 feet to 60 feet. And then also, due to the nature of kind of a weird property line at the northeast corner, there was a minor decrease in the side yard setback to accommodate a proposed residential building there. The nature of that, again, was just because of the weird property line that abuts the properties to the north. Also included in your packet was a list of the 5 amenities that were proposed as part of the PUD request. Looking at some previous projects that have been proposed both on this site and approved on other properties in the city, staff included the proposed density of this project in comparison to other residential projects within the city for some comparison. Because the property does include some retail component and a hotel, there were some different parking ratios that were required. Those were just pulled straight from the UDC. No deviations were requested as part of that. Lastly, pursuant to Section 415, which outlines the provisions of a PUD within the city, it does provide the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council the ability to have a little more dictation in how the property develops and which areas develop first. So within the MOU, you'll see staff did include a proposed phasing schedule for the 3 different components as to when they can start and commence and finish construction, which has been shared with the applicant. Staff did submit their proposed findings of fact. At their March 21st meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-1 to accept staff's proposed findings of fact and forward this case to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. That will conclude my staff report.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions of staff at this time? Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question on, it was highlighted in the packet, the density. Was that called out specific to, as you stated in your report, just because it's a little different from the previous, or is there a concern with the density?
Only because there are different components to the project that made that number jump up so high. As I mentioned, in 2004, when the townhome plan was approved, that was approved at a density of, I think, 9.6 dwelling units per acre. A portion of that site has been developed now, and so it is not eligible for, or to be included as part of this project. So naturally, that density has increased, but also because of the fact that they've included the hotel component and the retail, that's additional land that's being taken away for residential. So that was the nature of that comment, was to show it is higher, but for the reasons that I just described.
But for those commercial pieces added to it, taking away opportunity for residential?
Correct.
Understood, okay. And then last couple of questions related to the recommendations from staff, I believe it was, specific to the streets and access. I believe I'm trying to get back to it here on my slides. The impact study, is that a condition of development, or what are we expecting to come back from that?
So as part of our preliminary review, if this does get recommendation of approval and eventually gets second approval by the council, the next step in the process would be for the applicant to file a final plan for each of the 3 sections of the project. Staff's initial concerns on the access to Dean had to do with just that. The traffic study that was submitted as part of this application, staff didn't feel that it fully addressed our concerns about the uncontrolled access onto Dean Avenue. And I'll let Mr. Krass chime in if he can explain it better, though. What we were saying in our recommendation is that we didn't have enough information as part of the preliminary application to say that that access is allowed. We were requesting as part of a final application that it be looked at a little more in depth as part of that second application.
Okay. So particular to that comment, should the study come back and is inadequate, what happens, just in worst case scenario?
Staff would continue to recommend that a direct access to Dean Avenue not be provided.
Okay. And that would be off of, they would then use their interior road that's in the preliminary plat would come through Johnston, and they would connect through Johnston and not have a second access point.
That's correct.
Okay. And then lastly, the MoDOT piece. Could you speak to that recommendation? Access off of Outer Road.
The outer road at that location is under jurisdiction of the Missouri Department of Transportation, so they have to grant access for any of the points along that. I do not anticipate any issues with that. We were just pointing out that that is under their jurisdiction and requires a permit.
Got it. But should they come back and says, no, we don't want to have access off of Outer Road, they would just once again, cul-de-sac-like interior and circle back through Johnson.
Or loop back to Johnson.
Understood. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm like Mike. I don't see them doing that with the hotel placement, because that'll be a separate structure from the residential. And I think from here it looks like there are 2 entrances, one by the hotel and then one a little bit further south there. So MoDOT would have to approve both of those, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Holman?
Yes, sir. 2 questions. One, so kind of expounding a little bit on Councilmember Townsend's point. Want to know a little bit more and not enough information to make a determination on direct access onto Dean Avenue. If we come back and it's unfavorable, we could say no access. The other option could be the developer would have to pay for something like excel, decel lanes or a traffic signal or something like that. I'm assuming is also another option. Is that correct? Should they choose to do so?
That's correct.
And then my other question was, I was reading through the minutes and I saw that the March 21st meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission, there was a lone dissenter. I was wondering what the point of contention or points of contention of the lone dissenter was.
Yes, good question. It was a 7-1 vote. And afterwards, the chair gave obviously the reason or the chance to explain the dissenting vote. The reason behind that, as we could determine, was the disagreement of the likelihood that access would be allowed. One of the commissioners, I believe, felt that regardless of the traffic study, that direct access to Dean should not be allowed. And so that was, we believe, the reason for their dissenting vote. In our recommendation, staff was just saying it could be allowed with further review. We just did not want to commit to it as part of the preliminary application without the supporting information.
Understood. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, also inside the middle of the development, there's On the townhome side that have already been built, it looks like maybe the fire department recommended we have some way for them to turn their vehicles around. Is that going to connect to the loop run through this development, or is it going to be separate?
So you're correct. That was a request, both the Public Works and the Fire Department, to make that a cul-de-sac at the end of, I think it's Barberry. It will not connect in the sense of it being a road connection. What we've been discussing is the idea of potentially permeable pavers so that a truck or car could access over it in the event of an emergency. Whether there's a gate there, that still remains to be determined, but it would not be a physical connection that you or I could drive through. It'd be for emergency services only.
Thank you for that clarification.
Anyone else? Does the developer wish to present at this time?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Ms. Mayor Pro Tem. I'm Matt Tapp. I'm with Griffin Riley Property Group. You may recall my face a little bit, a former Economic Development Director here for the City of Raymore. You all actually did a fantastic job asking the questions. I don't have much of a presentation now. You all covered most of the points we wanted to cover, but I am here on behalf of Griffin Riley Property Group, and we are proposing the Timber Trails Mixed-Use Project. It should be up on your screens. Do you see it in front of you, council members?
Not yet.
Okay.
He's working on it.
All right. And for the sake of time, we are going to definitely go speedy through the introductory slides. Be quick but not hurry, as one of my professors said back in the day. Do I have control, Mr. Gress? Okay. This way? Okay. Yes, it is now. Thank you. So that is our table of contents. Like I said, the beginning part, I'll definitely go very, very fast, as you all are probably pretty familiar with Griffin Riley and myself, but we would like to cover some of that. So a brief introduction, and I won't go verbatim through here, but Griffin Riley Property Group, we are a full-service commercial real estate development and management company. We believe in integrity and transparency. You can see our vision, mission, and values. We have, can you move the cursor, Mr. Gress? I'm sorry. Thank you. We have over 900,000 square feet of commercial and residential property completed or currently in our portfolio and growing. This would be one of the projects we'd be very proud of if it were to pass. We have very strong financing and private equity capabilities. We've programmed and operated many of these facilities, both apartments and retail. And then I feel like the reason why I joined the Griffin Riley Property Group is they have a little different project plan and approach. We firmly believe in being great neighbors and working with community leaders and stakeholders and providing very distinctive projects to communities while making a difference. Small history, so you may recall a company called Summit Homes. Fred DeLaBro started that company, sold it to a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway, started Griffin Riley Property Group in 2016, and that is where we stand today. Just a little bit of an example of our project portfolio. If you're aware of 50 Highway going out of Lee Summit at the new Blackwell interchange, we have a mixed-use project going there as well, where this slide we are showcasing the retail center. It's a little bit bigger than the one we're proposing at Timber Trails. It's almost 38,000 square feet, single story. We have the Residences of Blackwell, which is a luxury apartment complex, very, very similar to what we're proposing for Timber Trails here in Raymore. Then the final two components of Blackwell is our single-story geared towards 55-plus single-story townhomes, about 122 units of that. And then what is really hot right now in the residential market is single-family for rent. So there's an entire single-family neighborhood designed and built for rent. A project you should be very familiar with, hopefully, if you've gone down Dean Avenue. A little bit further south of our proposed project is called The Venue. It is 204 units of Class A luxury townhomes with a full-service clubhouse pool. We've welcomed our first wave of residents, and it seems to be going very well. We're receiving a lot of very positive comments and feedback.
Is the clubhouse open yet there?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor. It is. The pool is being worked on as we speak. So we're really hoping for it opening for the pool season for our residents. The project that started it all is Residences at Echelon. It's 150 Highway and 291 approximately, the 150 Highway corridor in Lee Summit, Southern Lee Summit. 244 units, opened in 2019. Now for this specific project, it is about 22.3 plus or minus acres. You all are probably pretty familiar with the site. It's between Dean and the Outer Road along the future extension of Johnston Drive. We feel it's the billboard of the community. Every time I drive through I-49, I can't help but look to my right or left, depending which way I'm going. And this is right there in the front doorstep of Raymore. So as part of the plan, we're proposing 299 Class A luxury apartments with a full-service clubhouse. It's a single story and a kind of a walkout back into the pool. Does the laser work, Mr. Gress? Oh, perfect. So the clubhouse is here, and the residential are all the yellow buildings. Hopefully you can see on your screen.
Can't see your laser, but we can see it.
You can't see the laser,
See what
right?
you're talking about.
Well, the crowd can. And then the retail center is the lower southeast portion, and that is on 2.3 plus or minus acres. We have about 13,500 or 13,560 square feet of true Class A retail space there, up to 10 tenant spaces, 88 parking stalls, and that is an elevation drawing on the lower left-hand side of your screen, meant to indicate and showcase the quality of building materials and style of development. And last but certainly not least is the hotel site, which for obvious reasons would be up along the outer road, the great visibility on I-49. I've had a couple of really good conversations with a few hotel developers. We'll see how that goes on the certain flagships that they're interested in attracting. But we're talking about, on a preliminary stage, around 80 plus or minus beds, about 2.9 acres, 125 parking stalls, and then lower left-hand corner again is an elevation drawing meant to depict what the hotel could look like.
Matt, are you talking to them at all about like a small conference room holds 60, 80 people, 100 people, whatever?
We certainly can, Mr. Mayor. That's probably on down the road a little bit, once we figure out what flag or what flagship, whether it's Hilton or Marriott or whatever their different sub-flags are inside there, but we can certainly have that conversation.
I'm just curious if
Sure.
you'd already had that or not.
No, we've not
Okay,
particularly.
that's fine.
And these are the three-dimensional, if you will, drawings of the apartments, which are left-hand side, and then on the back side of the clubhouse. I don't know about you, I can see a map, I can see a site plan looking like a bird flying over, but once I can see the 3D realizations, it really kind of brings it to life. This is the retail center. As you can see, we have programmed some gathering places to really create and harness a community-like feel. Here's the hotel exterior. And then if we have time, Mr. Gress, oh, no, we'll go on. We'll go on for the sake of time. We have a fly-through, which I think most of y'all have seen.
We have.
We've shown it. So we also want to highlight the targeted outcomes. So we grabbed the 2017 City of Raymore Strategic Plan, which I think is being updated. But we want to showcase those goals that we're really trying to hit, check mark off for the community. And again, for the sake of time, I won't go into each specific one. I'm happy to do so. But we feel that a truly distinctive luxury mixed-use development will elevate the entire profile of Raymore at this particular site. Now, the particular items we want to discuss, council members, you're very wise. You picked up on a couple of key items, Mr. Townsend and Mr. Holman. The street, and we agree with the vast majority of staff recommendations and Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations. There are a couple that we wanted to highlight. The street we are requesting to dedicate as a public versus private street. We feel that it has a direct public purpose where it's the principal access for residents, visitors, and customers for our retail and hotel sites. We also believe that there will be delineation between the public and private, so there'll be a ribbon curb between the public element and then the private element, the parking stalls along the street. And then the parking areas will be maintained by us, the developer owner. And I also wanted to showcase some examples across the metro area where we feel like this is a very similar situation. We have 152 Highway in Brighton, kind of in my neck of the woods in the Northland, where you have quite a bit of multifamily residential, both apartments and townhomes, and then a brand-new Casey's gas station actually is in part of that retail area to showcase the public streets. On the right-hand side is Donovan Street, so if you've been in Lee Summit recently, you've seen the Donovan, which is a great example of luxury apartments, but there is a public street between the retail center. I would show you my cursor, but there's a retail center in the corner, and then behind it is a multifamily residential. And then our very own Residence of Echelon at 150 Highway, we have public streets that go between the retail and our Residences of Echelon. Inside Raymore, we have Mott Drive and Cinnabar Drive that delineates and goes through retail as well as multifamily residential and is a public streets. And another example, Lenexa City Center. To the right-hand side is the brand-new mixed-use development in Gardner on the other side of I-35. You've been down there. It's kind of amazing to see the growth that's happened in Gardner, but there's a public street. You can kind of see it there on dirt where you see in the aerial photography, but there's a public street between the retail and multifamily as well. And then finally, Mission Farms, you've been in that area. There actually, this is a great example. There's 45-degree angle parking along the public street that delineates the retail and the luxury multifamily. The other point that the council members were very astute at bringing up is the access along Dean Avenue. Had conversation with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we are requesting that we have full access at Dean Avenue, and here is why. The two key warrants are the left in and left out volume projections are low, 2 to 4 during peak hours, and the traffic impact study and a supplement memo, hopefully maybe perhaps a copy was included in the packet, justifies the full access. We're talking about spacing, site distance. Again, for the sake of time, I don't want to go too much into the weeds, but we're meeting spacing, site distance, the traffic operations, as well as for tenant recruitment. I'll say it time and time again, if we can provide access, it presents us on par with other retail centers of the area to where we can attract the very best tenants to this location. So with that, I believe I'm happy to answer your questions.
Go back to the traffic pattern there.
Yes, sir.
So you've got the circle around where you guys would like to have access off of Dean. You said left in, left out. I assume you meant right in, right out. Because that would make more sense than a left in, left out, because a right in, right out keeps that southbound traffic going in and keeps it going south. Mm-hmm. And anybody coming from the south going north could always take Johnson Drive into the division. So that would be two opportunities, and we've done that on a couple of occasions along 58 in order for there not to be crossover traffic. And with that being a curved road right there, we know that I'm sure I'm speaking what Mr. Krass has previously said, but that would be I would think that the council might think of that as a potential alteration from staff's recommendation, but I couldn't. It doesn't make sense for me for traffic that's northbound on Dean to be able to pull into that when they have to pass Johnson Drive to get there.
And Mr. Mayor, you're exactly right. We're very happy to work with council, staff, Planning and Zoning Commission on what type of modifications we need to do at that access point. We're just respectfully requesting access. I do think we are highlighting the left in and left out being so minute or small that the right turning traffic would be just as small. So I do believe, now Mr. Matt Parker with Trans Systems is here, and Matt, you're welcome to jump up if you want to provide further clarity, but I believe that is what we're trying to highlight there, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. But that's down the road, right?
Yes, sir. Staff has been discussing this with the developer for some time.
Yeah.
Would necessarily, when all of the items from P&Z are completed, staff would be bringing to the council our recommendations on this. It's a little bit premature tonight.
So what is council considering tonight, Jonathan? Exactly. Just the rezoning?
You're considering your rezoning and your preliminary plan.
And the preliminary plan, okay. All right. Anybody else have anything? Mr. Ullman?
Good report, as always, Mr. Tapp.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Can you tell me a little bit more about, you spoke about Griffin Riley's portfolio and their history, that kind of thing. What is the business model in regard specifically to, do you typically maintain ownership and lease all these properties? Do you sell some and lease some? And you've got three unique and separate entities here. You've got the retail component, the hotel component, and then the residential, if you will. And so I didn't know if typically you hold on to them, you lease, there's a mix of both, and if that same model you intend to apply to this, at least initially.
Yes, sir. How we like to answer this question is our full intent through the development construction process that we build and hold. That is our intent, and that's how we finance deals. That's how we bring our equity to the table. If there is an investor that is interested in a portion, we would entertain that conversation, but it is our intent to build and hold, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is a question specific to this project and then the other projects along this Dean corridor, and how we look at it from the lens of all the opportunities to access from the future development. And while we are making the decision specific to this request, what are the needs for the growth that's coming and the traffic concerns as far as left in, left, right in, right out, left in, left out? Because as I look at this project and then third phase Timber Trails, single-family homes and the connection off of there, Allure and the potential connections that they're bringing online south of this project on the south side of Johnson Drive, are we having those conversations on, okay, if we make this decision here, what impacts does it have along the Dean corridor, potential for additional traffic signals, left in, left out, you know, because we're adding more, but we're making the decision singularly per project.
Mr. Kraft, can you please explain in an executive summary format the traffic study that we did for this location?
Sure. We did a very extensive traffic study for the area, looking at growth. If you recall, Wilson, what grew out of that was the improvements that we're doing on the north end at 58 Highway, the recommended improvements there with some access management. I would point out that any access point, uncontrolled access point or non-intersection does impact mobility on the corridor. You'll see that along 58 Highway every single driveway, which is very concerning with this access point to Dean Avenue. The applicant also mentioned the low usage. If you will recall, the Cadence development insisted on a access at Kentucky. Fast forward, the traffic study that we did along 58 showed 2 cars using it. I think what we always, and what I stated at the Planning Commission, you've got the theoretical and then you've got what people actually use. I'd also point out that access is only a couple hundred feet from Johnson Drive. Johnson Drive is really the appropriate point for access to this property. I hope that answered your question, sir.
It does, and I appreciate you highlighting the study that was done. That was what I was referring to as well and recalling, because it was done, I believe, probably before some of these things were in existence. But it did highlight the fact that attention is being given to the growth and the possibility of accesses that didn't exist before that will exist, and new developments coming in, and we are looking through the lens of what does that do for the throughput of traffic and the safety of the area. So again, thank you for that input. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Don?
Just one question on the retail part of it in that corner. You have a lot of other properties with the same concept. What are some types of businesses that went in on that retail, like professional or restaurants or?
From our previous centers, council member? We've had a mixture. It depends on the location. So we have a center along 50 Highway in Lee Summit, which has very strong visibility directly on 50 Highway. So we are able to attract restaurants and other folks. But it's generally this service type of industry. So, yoga to all different types of services. And that would be our mixture goal here is, of course, we want to attract restaurants and food beverage, come from a generic or general term, but we'll also be looking at services as well.
Anyone else have anything or any questions of the developer? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members.
Since the public hearing is open at this time, anyone from the public that would like to address the council on this topic, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. I see no one coming forward, so I will close the public hearing at this time. And is there any further discussion from the council or any additional questions of staff by council? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the agenda item for Bill 3802, Timber Trails Mixed-Use PUD rezoning and preliminary plan, subject to the conditions outlined by the staff recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3802, along with the mentioning of the conditions as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Yes, Ms. Bedell, go on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. It seems like this is a great project moving forward. It seems like there still is some work to be done between staff and the developer, but I think this is a good first step to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3800 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3800 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2023 capital budget to provide additional funding for the FY 2023 street preservation project.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What we are asking for this evening is funding to expand this year's street preservation program to repair cul-de-sacs within the Stonegate neighborhood that are shown on the map that we've attached. There's also a problem area on Hubach Hill Road east of School Road where there were some drainage issues, and basically there's a segment of road a couple hundred feet long that looks like a lunar landscape. And we did get the drainage corrected, and we would like to include that work as well. And so staff does recommend expansion of the street preservation program in the amount of $194,121. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Krass? Mr. Bedell, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to hear that you're going to do some work on Hubach, but isn't that county's road?
We have a maintenance agreement, and with them that goes back, gosh, over 20 years. So there's quite a bit of Hubach Hill Road that we are actually responsible for maintenance for.
Thank you. Anyone else? Have any questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3800, budget amendment for the cul-de-sac and Hubach Hill Road Mill and Overlay.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3800. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Last item of our new business, could I please have the first reading of Bill 3801 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3801 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2023 capital budget to provide additional funding for the Mazuma Force Main project.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would call on Mr. Krass.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Staff is requesting additional funding to close out this project in the amount of $15,560.60. We made some field changes with the project. We relocated the force main to avoid some mature tree removal on the Mazuma Credit Union site, as well as there was some conflicts with cables and some other things on top of the force main that made leaving it in the existing location very difficult. So when we relocated it, if council's aware, there's a ridge of rock along here that we've encountered when we built City Hall, when other utilities been put in. We basically had to create a new trench. The old trench, the rock had been removed. On this trench, we needed to remove the rock. There was some additional removal, there's some additional haul-off costs, and so so we overran the budget, and this allows us to close out the project. That concludes staff report.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Krass. Are there any questions of Mr. Krass? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3801, a budget amendment for the Mazuma Force Main.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3801. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. That concludes our formal agenda. We're on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. I see no one rushing the podium, so we will move on to mayor-council communication. And Mr. Baker, I'll start with you this evening, sir.
I do not have anything tonight.
All right, sir. Mr. Townsend?
Likewise, sir, I have no comments this evening.
All right. Mr. Burke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two things. I only brought two pages of the packet with me, except for the agenda, knowing we'd have the computer here in front of us. And both pages have things about no land disturbance activities or removal of any trees shall occur within the floodplain is one that I appreciated being enumerated, and also the removal of the 2 trees. But I did look up the insurance value of replacement of 2 mature trees, and it's pathetic. Thank you.
And Mr. Holm?
I don't have anything additional this evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I can talk for quite a while now.
Yeah, all the time has been turned
first
over
of all, I wanted to congratulate Mr. Snell. We actually have some history together. We went to high school, and don't mind saying he's a little bit older than me, but congratulations for 25 years of service. That says something about him, and also says something about our city. So that's quite a milestone. I was excited to hear finally that the Hawk Nest is completed, and that we'll have a short meeting so that we can go attend the ribbon cutting on Monday the 1st. Been watching that go up, and it's I'm sure it's going to win some awards. It's just a beautiful piece to our park system. And also want to congratulate our newest Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Abdelgawad. Congratulations. Thank you.
And Ms. Abdelgawad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with a thank you to my fellow council members for trusting me to be your Mayor Pro Tem for the upcoming year. I look forward to serving in that role, and I will do my best. And additionally, I too am very excited about the ribbon cutting for Hawk's Nest. I don't generally talk much about what I see on social media, but I already am seeing great things on social media about families enjoying that space. So great job, Nathan and team, and can't wait to officially open that part of the park. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Engert?
I just wanted to say congratulations to my cohort for her position now as Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you very much. Looking forward to working with her and use some of her knowledge in my abilities through City Council.
Thank you, sir. I also want to offer my congratulations to Sonia on her selection by the council as Mayor Pro Tem. I want to let folks know that the House Bill 909 did not get up for debate this afternoon, but it was getting close, and they have adjourned for this evening, and will resume tomorrow at noon. You can always go online and listen to their live debate. If you want to lose a few brain cells. I didn't say that out loud. Sorry about that. It's tough to listen to, guys. It really is.
Nobody wants to hear the sausage being made, sir.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. And very excited about the Hawk's Nest opening as well. I know everybody's been anticipating that. A lot of kids have been playing on it already, but to get it officially opens, great news. So I'm looking forward to that next Monday night. Do we have any reason to go into executive session?
We do not, sir.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? And we are adjourned.